Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Orange Podcast Bad, Episode 9. We've got Edward with us tonight. He's Green Man tonight. Whatever. We don't know what's going on with that. We
I don't know.
believe Paul will be joining us later. We just wanted to make sure we were getting that to you live around the same time every night when we open up. So, hey, Edward, how you doing?
Hey, I'm okay today. It's a wonderful Monday. Great start to the week. I'm lying to you. It really hasn't been, but I'm saying that anyways. And with the news stories coming out, I was even more ticked off when I was hearing about the thing going on in Great Britain about the Christianity thing, the praying and whatnot, and the 2-year jail sentence for that. You know, for praying. Did you hear the story?
So I heard the story, and that's not the first story that I've heard like this, and that's the issue, I guess, when we look at what's going on in Britain, and they're
No.
jailing people for posting mean posts on Facebook, or mostly Facebook, but and they're trying to ban the X platform because it allows too much free speech. It,
Yeah,
wow, you can go to
that's
jail.
going.
So if that
I
actually
know.
happened under Joe Biden. That actually happened to an American.
What did?
Uh, yeah, so in 2016, there was a memer who posted a meme that says, "Hey, Democrats, you can vote from home by like
I did. Yeah,
80525, right?" And he got 4 years in prison for that.
I can't
So
believe that. But yeah, who would be that dumb to think that? Oh, I can vote right here. Yeah.
it was a
I,
meme. It was a
yeah.
meme, and it was on the following day. It wasn't on voting day. It was like
Yeah.
Wednesday and not Tuesday. And so when you look at this in the West, you just got to go, what have we started? What have we created? What when we have this globalist style censorship regime,
Yeah,
right?
that's happening. Yep. Uh-huh. And you got to think of the mindset of these people. Can you mind getting arrested for praying in public, or even if it's silently, and the guy, officer, woman, whatever, asks to come with them? I'm thinking, well, why? Like, how is that offensive? You didn't even hear what I said. How can that be offensive? But this is where we're at now. I mean, it's downright cartoons. Like, how is that offending them when they can't even hear you? It's just getting more and more stupid every day.
So
So yeah,
again, you're bringing up things that have happened in America too, where people have silently prayed too close to a Planned Parenthood clinics. That's where the people go to the healthcare,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right. All right.
Wow,
We'll
yeah.
we'll we'll we'll, we'll, we'll leave it with that. We'll just leave
Yep.
it with that. Uh,
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
uh, so we've
because
had
words matter here.
there's people who have been arrested and there's people who have been jailed over it. I don't know. I'll have to look deeper if there's been prison time or jail time, but they've been at least jailed. They've been booked and spent the night, all for silently praying too close to one of these clinics. So that's what,
Uh,
like, we talked real quickly in the green room, and I was like, America was 5 seconds away from what's going on in the UK if we had not shown up in mass to vote for the Orange King.
Thank God. Thank goodness they did, because could you imagine the clown show? We'd all be in there, because whatever America does, well, we follow. I mean, that's just the way we are. I forget the old saying, when America sneezes, Canada catches a cold. It's still true today, So yeah, so we'd all be in this big mess, and there's still possibilities. You mentioned X getting beat up by the globalist, and we've already heard that from Marxist Carney, going on about the same, if you call it freedom of speech or hate speech or whatever you want to refer that to, uh, doing the same thing, getting rid of X. So yeah, we're right there. So I don't know, but I can't see
Well,
any
and
dum dum.
tell
Huh?
me if I'm correct. Zuckerberg freely censors Facebook users' speech in Canada based on government's requirements. That's what it looks. That's what I've read.
I can't tell you that because I'm not on Facebook. I haven't.
Okay.
Well, I was on it for a little bit in 2005, I guess, for a few months, but I couldn't keep up with all the mail and nonsense and the constant. Yeah, I just didn't have the time, and still don't. I still don't. And I don't want to. And Facebook's just got too ridiculous, too stupid. So yeah, don't do that.
I gave up on, Meta products, years ago. I sell all of them. Anything that they do, I won't touch. And there's been people that had conversation with me that just, like, secure your name like you have it on I have it on a gazillion different platforms that I may or may not use, like Getter or Truth
Oh
Social,
yeah.
and it's like, "No, I'm not even gonna give Zuckerberg that much." I
No,
was like, "No,
no,
I don't
no.
care
Good for
that he
you.
donated $1 million to the inauguration, or I don't care that he did this,
I
or
was. I
that
didn't
he
hear
went on
that.
Joe
Oh.
he went on Joe Rogan and said that, he's sorry, and that, yeah, he didn't realize it was happening, but it totally happened, and the US government was, totally telling, Facebook at high levels to censor posts, and that, they were actually in. They had a like backdoor, just like they did with Jack Dorsey's Twitter before Elon bought it and fired all the employees who were FBI or State Department or CIA. Yeah, I'm telling you, what you're talking about. I think we need to get to the point of it, though. It was happening in the U.S. It was happening in Canada. It's totally visibly happening in Britain, and that is censorship of Christianity and of nationalism. That nationalism is a bad, bad, bad word right now to them, to the governments,
Yeah.
they fear that we're not going to let them bring in globalism.
Hey, by the way, every other religion's fine. I mean, if you're a Hindi, Buddhist, Muslim, it doesn't, or Islam, like I mean, all that's fine. It's just Christianity. Why they picked that one? Well, I know why, but and the old story goes, Christians just don't bend the knee to tyranny or tyrants, period. And that's why the Christians get punished because they don't follow and bow down to the governments like the other religions do. So that's why we're always centered out, or I guess you could say picked on, because I guess it would seem that way, wouldn't it? Can I say hi to our brother Paul? He just popped in. Paul,
Hey, Paul,
Paul.
good to see you.
Hey, I'll only be here a few minutes. I'm waiting on dinner, and then I got to go eat, and then I'll jump back in.
Okay. Did you see
That's
Edward's
funny. Hey,
green? Edward's
yeah,
running in green mode today.
I know I'm green. I don't know why I'm green, but I am green.
Well, it's just the same reason you got a laptop with a floppy disk. It's
You guys are still at my Commodore 1999, aren't you? Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Commodore.
Hey,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
You, do you can you hear the police sirens now?
It's
Oh yeah,
better.
we've been hearing them. Yep.
You can hear
What's
them, but
that?
it's better with your
Yeah,
microphone.
I thought so. Yeah,
It's
but I'm
better.
still
So I
gonna.
wanted to ask you guys. So I tried something different today, and I spiked my hair up. Like Edward did. I was just wondering if what you
I
think.
like it. Listen, I
Yeah, I
like
do
it.
too.
It's almost got like that Elvis swoop.
Yeah, it's got
That's funny.
Oh, good to have you.
The big band hair days, the hair band days. Yes, that's right. Just give it the old free flow, or hockey hair. That's what. That's another one.
hockey hair.
Yeah. Oh
So
my
I gotta
God,
ask,
that
while we
was a
have
day.
Paul for a minute, I gotta ask. So it was trending all over X today. People were either really for it, really against it, or like just making fun of it, or saying who cares? A bunch of rich people just went to space for 11 minutes.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah.
What did you think about Blue Origin launch and a bunch of rich girls that could afford it into space?
if if not for nothing, I thought it was cool as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought, why not? You could afford it. You got to. you got all your poop in one pile and stuff, and the reason I really like it is because of the adventure and you
Well,
generally think somebody like Katy Perry or somebody like that, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to eat lunch at the Leaf in Burbank and that kind of stuff. But they're really throwing down, and I like it, dude. I like it, and I like that it was all girls. I got a one small anecdote on one of my trips in 79 or 80 when I was in the Air Force at RAF Building Hall. I was taking the Freedom Bird back home to do a few weeks of R&R, and we were on a C-141 transport. That was the thing back in the day, and it was an all-female flight deck. The captain, the co-pilot, the engineer, and even
nice.
the enlisted. Uh, what do you? What's that, Sean?
Was it jump
The
seat? Jump
huh?
seater? The jump seater?
Yeah,
Jump seater,
uh,
the
all
radio.
female. And yeah, I thought they were first time ever, and it was really really cool. And I've always kind of held that thing that if they all girls get together and do something cool, I think it's awesome, dude.
Listen, I think
Mhm.
first commercial, like the ability to for what Bezos is giving, yes, it's a very short flight. Is he's opening up commercial space flight. Elon Musk is also doing commercial space flight, right? You had a couple of missions already where they were out and they orbited for 4 days. Well, all right, so it's a different mission, and everyone's going, well, Elon Musk eats Jeff Bezos' lunch. And I think Jeff Bezos' product is meant for a different experience. It's not
Absolutely, yeah,
it's not meant so that you have to go out there and live for 4 days.
yeah, and do some kind of activity or something.
Right, and
It's
actually
just the rush of
and getting to see,
flipping all those Blues going up into low orbit,
yep.
for 11 minutes and coming back. I even like the name Blue Origin. That's just cool.
If I had that kind of money, I would get a bigger boat. If I had more than that kind of money, man, you're you Edward, you're killing us with the thing again.
I told you, did I not?
Yep. If so, if I had that kind of money, I'll bring you back up in a minute. I would buy a bigger boat, but if I had even more money than that, I would totally do this experience with Blue Origin, just to get up into above the stratosphere. I mean, it would be absolutely incredible.
Sean, what if we grabbed, the three of us and, whatever makes a full complement, three or four other folks, that hang out with us regularly? How much fun would it be to go do 11 minutes in space? Do you, by the way, do you know what the price per head was?
I don't. I could look it up. It's not cheap. It's it's not. But Elon Musk's is even more expensive. Hey,
I mean, but
y'all,
it's hundreds of thousands, not millions, right?
hundreds of thousands per
Yeah.
person.
Okay.
It's more than that. To take a crewed dragon, but you're reaching orbit. You're not just doing a low Earth jump. So yeah, it's gonna cost. It costs a little more.
Yeah. Well,
Edward.
it's so an ISR equipped King Air is
Mm-hmm.
about 3,500 bucks an hour.
Yep.
A Predator drone is about 5,000 an hour. A 727R is about $30,000 an hour. And then you get up to the big boys, you're talking 70, 80, $90,000 a flight hour.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be something good to do, wouldn't it? Just, and I don't know why. I guess the experience. They just wanted to do it. They just got
Wouldn't
together
it
and
be
said,
fun,
"Hey,
Edward?
yeah, let's go to
What a
space for
blast that
11
would
minutes."
be.
I know, literally, pun intended. But could you imagine, setting, and I don't know how long it took them to get into orbit. Maybe it was,
4 minutes.
5 minutes, or was it?
Four
Yeah.
minutes.
And then you're on your way back down again. Maybe they spent 60 seconds in, I don't know. But
It's
yeah,
about
that'd be,
three. It's about 3 minutes of zero G where you can unbuckle, and then you get a minute warning to come back in, and you're back. You're back
I'd
down
do it.
within about a minute.
That'd
But
be
Yeah, but
fun.
like
then you're like this,
Yeah.
right.
with
Oh,
all your pals, with the surface of the earth behind you.
yeah.
I
You
would be
know,
I would
recording the
still do it.
entire
Yeah.
thing. I would be. Maybe not in the way they did it, but I don't care. They did. It's their time. They
Yeah.
can do whatever they want. They will afford to do it. And everyone making fun of this thing, I think they're not understanding what Bezos is trying to do, which is make it cheap enough so that a group of fellas like us can figure out how to take one of these flights on a Blue Origin,
yeah,
a rocket in a capsule, and so we can do whatever we want to do on our experience.
right. Yeah. And
They
and
did pretty good
so
for a bunch
the
of
the
girls. They did
Blue
pretty good.
Origin vessel, the platform, is it all self-contained, or do rockets, you know, part from it, or is it all just contained into one rocket that
No,
launches?
it actually separates. So the
It
vehicle
does separate.
separates from the
So,
rocket, and it's
dude,
got
that
dude, it's got the emergency. Like if the it's all automated, like the SpaceX. And so if something fails on launch, there's a boost rocket system to lift up the crew vessel and automatically throw out the parachutes. This is like they thought the whole thing out,
bro.
just like SpaceX. They're just trying to do a different thing with this, which is space tourism, right?
So on my 50th birthday, my wife bought me the NASCAR experience at Daytona Motor Speedway in Florida.
Oh,
Oh, and I'll finish that story when I get back. I've got to go eat.
sounds good. You'll be able to hop right back in the next time.
Roger that.
All
Right.
right.
Yeah. I was just
Oh,
with my police sirens going on. My police sirens going on and off for a little bit. That should calm down a bit. Hey, uh, going back to you know SpaceX doing that as well. I could imagine that would be quite a busy business, having least time, for these retrievable rockets now. I mean, that'd be pretty popular. I imagine the prices will be a little higher because, well, you can get the money, so why wouldn't you raise the prices? And then everybody after that, I think it'd be pretty. 11 minutes of your life, for an hour, how much it would cost? Yeah, I'd do it if I had a spare
oh
million
yeah.
dollars. It'd be fun. It's just something different that we could all talk and laugh about because we're all in it together, literally. Not like this political thing, but yeah.
True.
What they say,
It's
we're
true.
all in this together. We're not all in this
We're
together,
not all in
people.
this together.
No,
We're
that's just another
not.
lie.
Sadly, and the coexist people seem, see now
Oh,
in
God.
politics, seem to
Oh,
be the most, or the least. They have the least ability to actually coexist.
yeah, I know.
They demand absolute obedience to.
They do, and that's just like the libtards saying or pretending they're the most tolerant when they're the least tolerant, and of course we can go on down the list as far as what they claim and what actually is real. Two different worlds. So yeah, we can smoke, can't we?
Yeah, so well, we can vape. Paul's on his break. He'll come back and he'll tell us about his NASCAR experience.
Hmm.
I think that topic you'd sent me about Christianity just trying to be erased
Yeah.
from the West.
Hmm.
I I've already told you some stories that happened here in
Yeah.
America. We know of stories, totally know of stories that have happened in Canada, but let's take a better look at Britain and
Yeah.
what mass migration has done, forced mass migration, right? That no vetting, no nothing has done to the Christian West, whether it be, I'm going to use the term Christian
Mm.
loosely, whether it be the Catholic West or the Orthodox West or the Christian West. For the purpose of this discussion, I'm just going to put them in a bucket all together.
Yeah.
And then we look at who came. It was Islam. And there's videos everywhere. I played videos for you guys from 2 years ago, from 3 years ago. You imported these people. We didn't
Uh-huh.
want them. We were trying to ban them from our society and lock
Uh,
them up. But you guys said, come here. We're tolerant.
And you know what? Look where we ended up. Yes, we said that. If you start doing this and bringing in those different cultures, we're in trouble because they don't mix. They're not going to become part of what we are here. They're against and opposing all that. Even in their own countries, they oppose that. Why would you think they're going to think or act any different when they actually get to the West? They're not. So if you think they're just going to, you know, give up where they came from for a better place. No, no, they're going to make this their place and change everything here to where they came from, and it's going to look exactly like where they came from. This is what everybody's talking about. They just don't do anything the same as us, and nor do they want to. Now, I can tell you
Well,
stories that are rather, kind of indecent, I guess, but I don't really want to go there. But they're just too much different than us. We cannot mix or match. We just can't do it.
well, is there? So I will tell you a personal experience with Saudi Arabians. All of a sudden, a bunch of them moving to my neighborhood where I lived. In they, they would have barbecues. They were friendly. They would have us over.
Yeah,
Uh, but let me ask the question: is there such thing as a peaceful Islam, or let me also say, I believe these were not jihadi Islam.
the Sunni. Yeah, you know
And
what?
I lived next to these folks for 18 months and
Yeah.
hung out. My kids hung out with them. It
Mhm.
was very peaceful. I didn't have any problem with my kid going and playing with their kid. These were Saudis, and they were honest about it. They're like, the king pays us to be here so that
Mhm.
my wife can become a surgeon. And then we take that
And then we're going
service
back.
we
Yeah,
take that service back to the king and we use it for the king.
but
We'll never stay in America.
they paid for it, so they paid for the service. That's fine. That's what we want too. We'll provide a service. I don't care what education you want. You could come to our universities or whatever schools that you're interested in going to, pay for it, and go back home and practice whatever you learn here. Yeah, that's great. I'm all for that. I don't find anything wrong with that. However, you can be a bad Muslim or Islam, I mean, and like you could be a bad Christian. Say you're a Christian, but not live the lifestyle as one. You can say you're well, a Muslim could say he follows the Islamic faith and not do it very well or very good. The same happens probably in every religion that there is out there, or philosophy. So yeah, there's bad ones and good ones. Ones that follow it, to the letter of the law. The what they would call the radicals, which that's a word that makes me laugh because radicals just means fundamentalist. You are grassroots. You're through the whole thing, all in all, not just living off the cloud surfaces, barely, but taking the whole thing in. It's a ground. even the word radical comes from the Greek root word radix, which means ground vegetable, like radish is, ground,
Okay.
grounded, So, I mean, that's when they say today in network news, the radicals, that just means they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be following. Nothing more, nothing less. So it's not being like you're a bad person, like you're some bomb throwing, angry anger ball. No, it's nothing like that at all. That's how they portray the word today, and it's not even close to being true. But anyways, yeah, it can be a
Well,
bad
so
Islam.
let me talk specifically about the Saudi students.
Mm,
That they still did the 5 times a day prayer, and they would remind us. And so, like, if I was over, like, because I had a family, we would just give them their 2 minutes. They'd do their thing, and then we'd go back to the
yep.
barbecue.
Uh-huh.
Is this? Are they just like pseudo practicing? If like
That
if
could
they're
be
not
too.
full in, we need to convert you from Christianity because they knew we were Christian.
Mm,
If they are they just pseudo practicing, maybe like I'm Jewish by ethnicity, but not by religion.
right. And so I'll eat pork. Yeah. You know what? Hey, by the way, one of the crown princes of Saudi Arabia converted from Islam to Christianity. That's a couple weeks ago now, when
Oh,
a
I didn't
couple were
see
talking
that.
to him. Yeah, talking about the origins of Muhammad and the whole Islamic faith, and there's just no writings or proof of anything about that. All dreamed up, thought up. And I guess more and more were saying, yeah, there's just no reality here, and switched straight over because it was nonsensical, and it still is. But that's a whole that's another Friday show we have to do anyways. With maybe our good friend Booker will join us and do that. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, that'd be an interesting story in itself, where that one's going. And I'm afraid that the more this news gets out and the more people that start converting, it's going to be a clown show of, well, we're going to end it. End Christians to stop talking about it and stop expanding that faith, because the other ones are losing ground quickly because the gig's up. The game of the whole thing's been afoot for a while now, and you got Dr. J. Smith and Barnett and all these other guys that do a good job of research and history, and they say, yeah, you know what, this is the story, the facts are right here. Everybody can look at them and read them. Of course, nobody's going to want to because it hurts their feelings if they find out the truth, but they're at least they're allowed to and able to. Whether they do it, who knows? But yeah, the truth is there. All you have to do is to be interested enough to look at it or read it. But again, too few are going to do that. But yeah, at least it's there.
Well, what I guess what I'm concerned about. Well, we can talk about the religious aspects, and we will over time.
Hmm.
But is the political Marxist movement, which what was that? Just over 100 years ago, 1917, with the
You mean like the Bolsheviks?
Bolsheviks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Bolsheviks. That was really the first time socialism, which is what communism is. Don't don't get
No, no, I know, right? I've been saying
don't
that
get
for a long
don't
time
get
now.
don't get
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
But is this whole dividing everybody up into sects that fight each other? What a better sect of people than to put the Christians against the Muslims, right?
Well,
And import them.
why they would do that when the Christians are uh, they're not they're not fighters as far as fighting back. They're going to stand and make their stand, take their stand.
Because
But as far as
they won't take they will refuse a tyrannical government. Every
right,
time a tyrannical
correct,
government's ever come up, the Christians is
yeah,
the ones that have had to overthrow it,
yeah,
right? And the
of
most
course,
recent one that you've seen was with King George III in America. That's the big story out there, right?
yeah,
In the 1770s, and we'll talk more about that. We used to talk about that on Spaces, but we can talk about that stuff too
nonstop.
as those days
I
come
know.
nonstop.
But hey, we need to, because there's such a lack of information about that. More people needed to hear the facts or what really happened instead of, well, you know as well as I do what we're taught anymore. God, you must just throw that in the garbage can because it's not right, it's wrong. And I know they say it starts at the Board of Education, it's the level there. But some of the teachers are just as dumb and take part in that because they don't even know any better. So,
I want to times out there. I think it's their training. They were trained specifically to be this way, right? And I don't
yeah,
listen. No, no, no. Because here's what they say. The school unions say is adults that have children. You haven't had the training we've had. We know better than you how to teach your children. Their training was incorrect. The training
yeah,
was bad, very bad, and that came out of the collegiate system. And that came, right, a lot of that from the Department of Education, which Jimmy Carter started, and but not all. That came from the state teachers unions. That came from like just the infiltration. So once you start training generations of teachers that Marxism
totally.
is the way, the
Yeah, that's
training is
true.
faulty. And now they're training kids to go to college to join the same cult because it's a
Yep.
cult.
It is. I know. Universities, you can, as Dennis Prager would say, I wish universities would have been a lot more honest about saying what they're doing. I mean, at least when you go to church, they're going to tell you, we're going to try making you the best Christian. Universities don't come out and say, hey, we're going to try turning your kids into the best liberals. They don't tell the parents that, but they should because that's exactly what they're trying to do. That's just always kept quiet. So I wish that was made a little bit more public when kids go to university today or enroll because that's accurate.
So I will tell you, when I went to college, this was already known. I went to college. I worked a couple of years, so roughly the late '90s, 2000s, somewhere in that range. That's all I'm giving you, all you internet sleuths that are trying to stalk us. And my dad said, "Hey, don't come home gay." And I looked at him, I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Just trust me. When you go to college, everything you see is going to be from a lens of a different
That's
view."
so true. Yeah, yeah,
Right, and so he was just trying to politely say he wasn't making an attack on anything. He's just like, "Don't let them take your mind back over.
yeah.
You're in
Uh,
a good place. Just do what you need to do. Take your college hours, your college classes, and take them seriously. And don't
right.
listen to all the noise on the college campus." And so what I did, it didn't happen naturally through me. They found me. A very Christian Greek fraternity found
Oh
me and
wow.
asked me to rush for them, and I did. And the experience was incredible. We've got presidents, we've got senators, we've got country rock stars, all members of this fraternity, and
Love it.
it was a great experience, and it was great. So like when you were seeing there was protests on campus, small school, but there, or you see this, you had this group of Christian men that we all hung out together. We all did this, whether we did chapter or whether we were doing some sort of a charity fundraiser event, or whether we were cleaning one of the senators' houses in the areas as a community service event, something like that. And I could hundreds of events I can remember that we did. We were all bonding and sharing in our mostly.
Oh,
It was a Christian story, but it was also conservative politically. We
yeah.
weren't we
Uh-huh.
weren't going to fall for the Marxism the campus was
Yeah. So,
promoting.
and your dad was right. I mean, TV started it. Don't let university finish it. And that's a good lesson for a lot of people.
Right.
Paul,
Paul's back. NASCAR. You got your ride. You got the
Oh
NASCAR
yeah,
experience.
where's
yeah.
the hat? We need the hat to hide the hair.
So I got to tell you, It was one of the one of the farm club drivers. It wasn't one of the top notch drivers. It was one of the guys that was up and coming.
So they didn't call Indy Racing League and say, "Send us Mario Andretti"?
Yeah, no, they didn't do that. But I got to tell you, we jumped in that car and maybe 100, 120, getting going and stuff like that. We came out of turn 3 and that dude hit the pedal. And that wall on turn 3, I swear, was like this far from my face. And it was just the most exhilarating, I mean, ever. We did a couple of laps and we came in. I'm like pulling out my Amex card and I'm like, where do I swipe it? Just keep going, dude. Just keep
Right.
going. That was
So
really, really awesome.
the Daytona would be incredible. So, could you imagine the open wheel at the Brickyard, where they get you up to 180 into turn one?
Oh yeah, IndyCar. Yeah.
IndyCar, but so at the Brickyard, so it like imagine so 180 is what they'll take you in the trainer, the two-seater, right? The family
Yeah.
model. Imagine these guys on race day on lap two hitting turn one at the Brickyard at the Indy 500, which does happen. It's the greatest spectacle in racing. I'm not knocking NASCAR. I'm just saying the Indy 500 is the greatest spectacle in racing.
Oh,
Imagine
unbelievable.
hitting,
Yeah.
imagine
Yep.
hitting turn one with your foot all the way down on the gas pedal at 240 miles an hour
Yeah.
and going, "I'm going to turn left now."
Yeah. Yep.
What?
Yeah. Pulling two and a half, three G's.
Right. It's like a
And
fighter
you're like,
jet.
I'm all the way over here.
Well,
I'm glued here.
you see, they do trainings like with weights on their necks
Yeah.
so that they can keep their neck from going
Yeah,
in
because
these
they don't,
turns.
in NASCAR, since Earhart's death, they've now got these things,
The Hans
you just
device.
kind of sit your head in there and it goes like
Yeah.
that, but it doesn't move that much.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that in IndyCar, and they don't have that in F1 either. You're just
You know what? I'm gonna make fun of F1. They all drink their tea with a pinky out.
yeah,
Like that's not racing.
that's
That's
not.
just a bunch of
So in
rich kids.
IndyCar, you got two engines you could choose from. You could pick a Honda, or you could pick a General Motors
Mm-hmm.
version of the LS, and those are the only two engines in IndyCar.
Yep.
Now, and those
Ah,
guys go faster than F1. F1 is like you said, it's all about the pinky out and the aerodynamics and this and that. The Indy cars are like the NASCAR of the open wheel.
Yes.
They just get out there and get after it, dude.
And they'll bump. They'll bump just like in NASCAR, but they
Oh
don't have
yeah.
anything to bump against, so they're bumping tires.
Oh, can you imagine?
No.
No, I cannot imagine. Yep.
Well,
yeah.
I remember when the Indianapolis Motor Speedway put in the safer barrier and the upgraded fencing because two events happened. One was a tire. A couple of people were killed. Went up over the
I went
fence.
up over the fence.
So
Yep.
the fence got higher. The safer barrier was better. But there was also an event where a car, because the bottom of the car is a unibody, like a modern fighter jet, and it caught air, and the car went into the stands. And they have improved their technology so much, not only to protect the drivers, but to protect the fans and the sport. Like their engineering is on the same level as like SpaceX. They're constantly
Oh,
engineering these
100%. Oh,
things to
yeah.
be
Yep.
better vehicles, and that's how you get better fuel dynamics, fuel mileage. all the things that you get out of a modern car comes out of racing.
Yep.
It's really fascinating. Angela, if you're watching us on Twitter, I'll call you back. Yeah, it's
Yeah, because they're not on
fascinating.
Twitter.
Well, and they're locked in, you like you said, to these two engines. They're locked into these two engines. They're V6s. They're just supersized V6s, right? And the amazing amount of horsepower they can pull out of these things and still get fuel mileage, where they're only doing what, 3 pits, 4 pits in a 500-mile race.
In a 500-mile
Absolutely
race. Yeah.
incredible.
Of
On a
course, they
six
cylinder
cylinder
off all the
that's
pollution
running ten
control
thousand
systems off.
RPM.
What's up, Paul?
6 cylinders running 10,000 RPM. It's like a Hayabusa, only in a 6 cylinder car. They're just
Yeah.
screaming so loud and so fast.
Yep. Yeah. No pollution
Unbelievable.
control, no
And
mufflers.
like Sean's saying, the engineering, how cool is it to be a 25-year-old kid that your job is to build engines for IndyCar? That's your job,
I know. I
right?
know.
You went
Yep.
to you went to UTI, or you went to Lincoln, or you went to whatever, graduate top of your class. You got one of these IndyCar guys pick you up, and they say, your only job is to put the crank in the bottom of the engine block, and then you pass it off to somebody else. And those guys, the
Best
the
crank you
other
ever
difference
see.
between Indy and F1 is you could throw a piston in an Indy car and they could replace the engine and get you back out on the track. Where F1, your day is done.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of money in there too. The money that goes through that is huge in the F1 bracket. It's not a cheap date either way, anyways. I mean, it's a lot of
Right,
money flows through both of them.
right. So you remember when what do they call those? They had two or three body styles. They were like a 5/8 race car. It could be a 39 Chevy or huh? You're muted.
I don't know. I don't remember.
You're muted, Sean. You're
Sean,
muted, Sean.
maybe maybe Sean did that on purpose. Maybe he's talking on the phone to whoever thought we're going to be on X and we're not on X right now because while we're
All
here,
right, so all right,
inform
so
them.
you have go kart,
Legends.
you have go kart, you have midget, then you have quarter midget, which is a 3/4 size car, and kids starting at like 7
Yeah,
started go karts that do 80 miles an hour.
yeah.
Then they moved to the midget, and then the next league up is the quarter midgets, which is a 3/4 size car, and then you get to bush league. Whether it's
Well,
in
there's the Legends car too. The Legends cars are a '39 Ford, uh,
yeah,
and they have Hayabusa engines in them. But it's like you said, but they call them Legends racing because their bodies are all old school things, and they run on BF Goodrich all terrains. That's their on a dirt track, dude.
yeah.
And it was supposed to be the blue collar everyman's entry into racing. So they're saying 10, 12 grand, you could get in and get out there and run some laps. Well,
Not
not
anymore.
anymore.
Not
I mean,
anymore.
everybody takes everything to the nth
Oh
degree.
yeah, of
They're
And
course.
so
sticking
now you got,
$100,000
million
motors.
dollar race teams
Yep,
for
I
a
know.
legend car, or like you're saying, the midgets. You got a $25 million midget team. Are you kidding me? It's supposed to be a bunch of kids going out there and having fun. Nope,
Look,
not anymore. The alpha males are here, and this is what we're going to do.
The
Oh,
money's
that's
here.
true
Well,
because the money's there.
do you
Yeah.
remember also the same thing would be in street drag racing, which is now moved towards the professional tracks. But
Yep.
there was this show of guys putting $1 million engines inside of cars and going out. Street Outlaws, I believe it was called, and there's been many iterations of it since then. But like, yeah, it used to be like when I was growing up, you would take a stock Mustang, right? You would open up the air intake on it, and you would open up the exhaust on it, and you just added 75 horsepower,
Yeah.
and you'd go, and that would be somebody would call it a sleeper because you didn't
Yeah.
do any modifications. You
Right.
didn't
No
add a
major
blower.
modification. Yeah.
You didn't
And,
you didn't bore the engine.
and in my day, we would go to the auction and grab a Florida Highway Patrol Mustang.
Yeah.
Had a 5 liter with a 5 speed. And like you said, exhaust, air intake, and get out there and get after it, dude. Just get out there and get after it.
And that
It's
was
just
small tire racing.
So
yeah.
Small
on
Oh
the
tire.
yeah.
so I've got Discovery Plus, which has snapped up every channel in the world, and one of the channels is Motor Trend.
Yeah.
And one of the shows on Motor Trend is Street Outlaws,
Yeah.
where those
We've
guys
all
are,
seen that.
everybody's seen it. They're, betting
Love it.
paint chips and stuff. But like 4 or 5 years ago, I started following this guy that had a 73 convertible Caprice donk, a
Wow.
donk. It had 24s on it, a typical donk. He had 1,100 horsepower, and he'd roll up there with a donk, and you got all these Alabama boys in their Novas and shit going, yeah, okay, dude, bring that shit up. And he'd just go, yo.
Yep.
And every time when he came
Amy.
back, he'd put the top down. When he was running back after the run, he'd put the top down just to kind of like,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Very good. Well done. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, what's funny is it's funny because they could take these old cars and turn them into a machine that will beat a modern supercar, right? They'll beat a Ferrari or a Ducati or a or sorry, not that's a motorcycle, but like there's like they build and they engineer incredible racing machines that the modern supercar can't even keep up with.
can't keep up with it.
They'll beat up with the fastest street production car as
Yeah,
far as track time right now is the 2025 Corvette. And they like if they were to drag race one of those, they're just doing a quarter mile. That Corvette is going to be left in the dust.
it's gonna get, yeah. And, you know, so my son's a hot rod builder, and he had one customer that had an old square body Silverado,
Hmm.
like a 78 short bed. It wasn't a SS 454 or anything, but my son built him an LS with 750 horsepower, put a Gear Star 4-speed automatic in it, changed the rear end, and changed it to a 4-link, and then you know sanded off some of the rust and some of that, and clear coated all of the nasty paint and everything. And this son of a bitch, dude, it would just disappear over the horizon
Hmm.
before you could do anything. And it's so funny, the Hawaiian shirt and Tommy Bahama shorts, wearing flip flops and driving a Corvette, they were like,
Right.
you know, This guy's literally got peat moss in the back of his truck, and he's just yo.
Which is what, like, when this whole phenomenon started and became like a podcast and then went to Discovery, right? Remember Aizen and Farm Truck?
Oh,
Those two characters?
dude,
And
the farm truck, man.
they're driving
72
around.
Chevy with a camper on the back.
It looks like it could go 0 to 60 in 4 years.
Yep,
And they'd be like, "Hey, dude, I'll $1,000 says I can beat you." And this
yep,
guy in this Porsche would be like, brand new,
yeah. Bring it,
whatever,
son.
2016 Porsche. He'd be like, "Hell yeah, $1,000, I'm in." And he'd be in there, him and Asian, and put on freaking helmets. And the guy in the Porsche's looking at him like, okay. And then the flagger would go, boom, farm
Woo!
truck's gone.
Yeah,
Porsche's going,
and it was that. It
wee.
was so funny because it was that shitty orangey brown with the white center, and it had an aluminum topper on the back. Just so unassuming, dude. It wasn't tubbed. It wasn't, it
No,
wasn't
small
like a Pro
tire.
Street or anything. It literally looked like a farm truck. It just absolutely laid aces down on those guys. I love that truck.
Looked like I just came back from camping last weekend, ready to race. Everybody, yeah, I could just imagine that. No, that's
Is street racing big in Canada? Because it's
oh
still big
yeah.
here.
Still is here too. I mean, Toronto was getting cracking down on all the street racing because it actually closed down parts of the highway, the 401 even, which is the busiest highway in North America, just to have a half hour of racing. And of course, the cops can't get there on time, or because everything's so backed up. By the time they get there, they've already left. They've shot their fireworks off, and already split the scene. So I mean, what are they gonna do? Happens just,
So hopefully the statute of limitations is passed and you're never going to find me. When we were doing it, Edward, we were doing it on the service road. So that would be
yeah,
not on the interstate. It would
right,
be where like all the utilities were run and the billboards stood, and we'd take over the service road
yeah.
and do that. And nobody drove down these service roads, so we really never had a problem. And when the cops rolled up, listen, they'd just be like, "You need to get out of here," and we'd be like, "Gone,
Yep. No,
Yeah,
gone."
right.
absolutely. Yep.
We'd be 5
Yeah,
counties away,
yeah.
within
And
30 minutes.
they happen everywhere, but I think they try to make it the biggest splash would be, major highways just to make a show of the whole thing,
I think
so
those guys are intentionally they're not street racers. Those guys are I believe they're doing something
true.
politically motivated, right? When they're doing their burnouts and their spin
That could
outs.
be
So
that could be too.
here's something, Edward. I'd like to bring up. So you spend 70 grand and you get a SRT Hellcat Challenger, or even the four door. What's that called? The Charger. The bigger
Charger.
one. And the
Yeah.
the most interesting thing that you can think of to do is to spin donuts in the with a crowd of people around in the middle of, you know,
Yeah, I mean, in
uh,
intersection. Yeah.
yeah, the mile long drive in Chicago or something. Really, dude? That's why
Yeah.
you bought that thing? You need to go to the house because you're 100% punk. You're just
I
a
know,
punk.
right? It's so true. Yeah, but uh, I guess
Right, and
in
and then when people watch all the live video shot of it, the comment section is all like, "I swear to God, if we find you, 'cause,
Right? Yeah.
you ruined my trip home, or you ruined
Yeah.
I was taking my wife
yeah,
to the hospital, or
Yeah.
you guys are losers. You're absolute losers. They're
Yeah.
not gaining any fans."
They're really not. And it's not, dude, you got a badass ride. You have a legit 100% badass ride. Why aren't you going out and doing 100% badass things?
Yeah.
Why you gotta be a
Yeah.
fucking barista and do donuts in the middle of Miracle Mile? Yeah,
Well,
fuck you, man.
because of
Yeah.
Discovery,
Take it.
this is popular again. Why aren't you paying your $25 entry to go to the track on Saturday?
Right. You know what
That's
I'd
it.
love to
It's
see? I'd love to
And
see a bunch of store-bought, unmodified SRT Hellcats get out there and do time attack. Get out
yeah.
there and and run those courses and stuff and try to get your times down. And
yeah.
because those things have epic oversteer, dude. You could plow those things through all the cones if you don't know what you're doing.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what I would be interested in. If I had a sleeper sedan and the only thing you knew about it is had the little Hellcat emblem on it, man, I'd be out there doing time attack and all that kind of stuff trying to get it going.
And
It's
if you want to
expensive though.
drag race a Model S Plaid from Tesla. You're all
Yep,
gonna lose.
yep,
Nope. I
Well,
know. It's true. They're
some of
quick.
these guys who are putting 1,200 horsepower to the ground, because a Model S Plaid will do about 1,100 horsepower to the ground. So the guys that have $1 million cars, they could beat the Tesla, but that's what, probably 400 people in America that
yeah,
have that kind of horsepower.
right, yeah. And they have sponsors and they have
Oh yeah.
all this kind of stuff. They don't pay for anything and all that kind of stuff, man. That's why I respect my son so much.
Hmm.
He's just got that mind's eye for what power plant goes with what vehicle and like this Wildcat we're doing, the Buick, the 68.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And he's like, dude, we're doing LS. We're going to do an LS3. And the guy's like, no, let's do an LS8. And he goes, no, we're not doing an 11-second car on a 60-year-old frame. We're not
Right.
doing it, dude. We're going to give you 500 rear wheel horsepower. It'll be faster than anything around Wood County. We're going to have a great suspension on it, and it's a great Friday night car,
Perfect.
you know, and
Yeah.
it's also a daily driver. So your Silverado
It's a
breaks
lot
down,
of fun.
you could drive that thing back and forth to work, for 2 or 3 weeks, and you don't have to check the
Yeah.
oil and adjust this and adjust. It's just that. And
Yep.
it's so
It's so
funny
much fun.
because the owner of the car said, "You know what? There's wisdom in that. Yeah, let's do that." He goes, 500 horsepower, dude. You're not going to use it in Wood County. You're just.
No. Yeah.
And the guy's like,
I'm
well, can I have cruise control? And he goes, no, you cannot have cruise control. If you're going to have 500 horsepower in an LS, you're going to control your throttle yourself.
yeah, because
Did
you're
they?
not using it going down the interstate at the
Right.
190,
Yeah. You're
200
not,
miles an hour. You're
going to
not
Mama's
using
house
cruise.
for Easter.
Yep. no, I know.
Well, and when you're doing a 500 horsepower, you can still have climate control. You can still have air conditioning,
Oh,
right?
see,
Yeah, you could.
When you're doing
so
when you're doing
Sean, that is such a
700.
great point. That's what Garrett was telling the customer. Look, you want AC, you want
Mhm.
power steering, you want power brakes, you want to have an automatic transmission. This is where you need to be.
Yep.
If this is something you could ride in comfort, it'll handle well. You got plenty of horsepower. So let's just leave it at that.
And still have fun. Loads of fun.
Right. Still have fun. Yeah. Dude, I would love to have a Beetle with a 2330 twin carb engine in the back.
Hmm.
Hauls plenty of ass, but it's not more than what the Beetle can handle. You
Right.
know what I mean? It just
I
you
sure
zip it
do.
around in it. You could beat Miatas, you could beat the Honda Preludes and still look cool while you're doing it.
And
That
you
Yep.
don't have to spend the
it's got
time
to
and the money.
be
I agree.
proportionate, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you don't need a tubular frame or anything else to
Oh
spend
my
time
God.
on.
Yeah.
It takes just so much time and money to do that. And wow, that's a ground up. Yeah. Hey, by the way, boys, uh, Sean, uh, I'm over my time. I'm
We
timed
hit the
out.
hour, so we hit the hour. We're gonna close this one out. Hey, Paul, we got some content coming up tomorrow. I will text you about it. Let's close it out. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Great seeing y'all.
You as well. Talk to you guys later.